The role and guidance given by Comrade MB to the youth and student movement of our country is remarkable. Comrade MB will be remembered as an intellectual lighthouse of Indian communist movement and as a visionary communist leader. It's a great honor for me to deliver this year's Comrade MB Memorial Lecture. Comrade MB Memorial Trust has chosen the topic of Centre's attack on states' rights this year for MB Memorial Lecture. I congratulate Comrade MB Memorial Trust for choosing such an important topic for this year's Memorial Lecture. Center-state relations and federalism have always been a topic of intense debate. But in the current scenario, with the Narendra Modi-led BJP government at the center is in power, this topic has become all the more important. Comrades, under the Modi regime, the states' rights and federal principles are under serious attack. This attack is taking place as part of an ideological design of the RSS-led government to redefine the our secular democratic republic. This attack should not be viewed in isolation. All basic features of our constitution is under attack. Whether it is secularism, whether it is democracy, especially parliamentary form of democracy, whether it is federalism, all basic features are facing unprecedented threat under Modi government. Federalism has always been regarded as one of the basic features of our constitution. Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that federalism is a basic feature of our constitution. So the entire constitution is under attack, and all these basic features of constitution are under attack. This Modi dispensation is led by corporate Manuvadi Hindutva campaign. Both these forces are against federalism. Both these forces want weaker state governments. They are against states' rights. The Manuvadi Hindutva forces wanted to redefine India as a theocratic, fascistic Hindu Rashtra based on Manusmriti. Golwalkar has defined this Hindu Rashtra in his infamous book, We or Our Nationhood Defined. But after independence, India was not defined according to Golwalkar's interpretation. India became a secular democratic country. But since then, these Manuvadi Hindutva forces led by RSS have been trying to redefine India on communal lines and to transform the country as a Manuvadi Hindu Rashtra. So they are against these federal principles, and corporate forces, corporate and big business in our country, because of their class interests, want a strong authoritarian central government and weaker states. So it is in this context we should understand that an attack is taking place against states' rights under this corporate Manuvadi Hindutva campaign. Article 1 of our constitution says, India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. The main architect of our constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, has explained the essence of federalism. In the Constituent Assembly debates, Ambedkar said, I quote, that the constitution is a federal constitution. The union is not a league of states, nor is the states the agencies of the union. That is very important. Ambedkar says the union is not a league of states, nor is the states the agencies of the union. Both the union and the states are created by the constitution. Both derive their respective authority from the constitution. This clearly means that states are not merely the agencies of union. States have their own rights and authority derived from our constitution. What is happening today is that this constitutional rights and authority of states are being undermined systematically by the Modi government at the center. The spirit of federalism is being blatantly violated by Modi government. India chose federal structure not merely for administrative convenience. It is the heart and soul of our republic. We chose federal structure out of necessity. Only a federal structure can truly accommodate and hold together the complex Indian reality of huge diversity and plurality. Comrades, India is home to thousands of languages, almost all major religions in the world, and different cultures. A modern nation was born out of this vast diversity, bringing together people of 600 odd princely states. There was no modern nation before 1947. India was divided into 600 odd princely states. The people belonging to these princely states were brought together. People belonging to various creeds, castes, religions and cultures were brought together, and the unifying factor was anti-colonial struggle. So that unified the people of India, and that created a modern secular democratic republic. Comrades, the idea of an inclusive India could not have survived. The idea of an inclusive India could not have been truly reflected and protected without a federal structure. So that is why India adopted a federal structure at the formation of our constitution, at the time of formation of our constitution. This federalism is not without limitations. CPIM has pointed out the limitation of our federalism. CPIM has pointed out that our federalism, our country, our republic is federal in the form and unitary in the character. So that limitation is there. But still, India adopted a federal structure to represent its diversity and plurality. With all these limitations, federal structure has prevailed in the country. Ever since Modi came to power, he has been indulging in talks of sugar-coated talks of cooperative federalism. But in reality, it is not cooperative federalism, but it is combative federalism. The Modi government is systematically eroding states' rights, systematically taking away states' rights in mainly three spheres: political, legislative and fiscal. The government at the center has been continuously misusing the office of governor to politically target and destabilize democratically elected state governments, especially those governments which are led by non-BJP parties. We have a number of experiences. I don't want to go into all details, We have seen in Maharashtra, we have seen in West Bengal, in Tamil Nadu, in Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, Karnataka, and recently in Kerala. So these are all examples of how the office of governor is being weaponized by the central government against non-BJP governments. Misusing certain discretionary space given by constitution to governors, they try to function as parallel power centers. They try to challenge and bypass elected state governments. Sometimes they do not give assent to bills passed by state legislatures. Recently, this happened in Kerala. Before this happened in Tamil Nadu, in West Bengal, in Rajasthan. In many states, this is happening time and again. Article 200 has clearly specified the options for governors in the case of bills passed by state assemblies. Governor can either give an assent to the bills, or the governor can return the bills to the assembly, and if the assembly passes the bill again and send it to governor, he has no other option but to sign it, to give assent to it. And the third option is to send the bill to President of India. So these are the options given to the governors of various states by constitution. But now the governors are sitting on the bills passed by, indefinitely sitting on the bills passed by state assemblies. They won't give assent to the bill, they won't return the bill back to the assemblies, and they won't even send it to the President of India. They will simply sit on the bill. So there is no provision in the constitution to indefinitely sit on the bill and violate the collective will of the assembly, elected assembly, by passing the bill. The intention of the assembly is being violated by a nominated and appointed governor. This is an assault on democracy. The governors appointed by BJP government at the center goes beyond the authority given to them by the Constitution of India. As chancellors of universities, the post of chancellor is not constitutional. It is given by the state assemblies. It is given by the statutes by which a university is set up. This post of chancellors is being misused by governors to politically target various state governments. And the extent to which they go beyond constitutional authority, the example is, the recent example is from Kerala. The Honorable Governor of Kerala explained the doctrine of pleasure in a peculiar way. He said he can even withdraw the pleasure extended to ministers in the cabinet, indicating that he will dismiss ministers. Against our finance minister, Comrade K.N. Balagopal, he said he is withdrawing his pleasure. In a democracy and under our constitutional scheme, the pleasure of the governor is not like the pleasure of a king in a monarchy, under a monarchy. The pleasure of the governor means the pleasure of the cabinet. Governor can only act on the advice of the chief minister and the cabinet. Ministers are being appointed by the governor on the advice of chief minister. The governor cannot independently dismiss any minister. The pleasure doctrine is only for the purpose of dropping a minister, only for the purpose of chief minister to drop a minister from the cabinet, from the council of ministers. And this was interpreted in this way, that Governor threatens that he can dismiss a minister independently to perform no function at all. This is the words of Dr. Ambedkar. He said the governor has certain duties to perform, and he emphasized the difference between functions and duties. But governors are going beyond that constitutional mandate. That is why the CPIM has always taken a position that if at all the post of the office of governor is required, the governor should be appointed in consultation with the chief minister of the state concerned. That is why the CPIM has taken such a position. The chief minister of the state concerned should give a panel of 3 eminent persons, and from among them, one person has to be chosen in consultation with the chief minister. Chief minister of the state concerned. That is the position taken by the CPIM. I would like to request regional parties that the experience which non-BJP state governments are facing today will be faced by all governments led by regional parties. All non-BJP governments will be targeted through the office of governor. The governors will be used as a political weapon against state governments. So don't be under the illusion that certain friendship with BJP will protect them. We have the experience how BJP has handled regional parties who had allied with them. BJP had swallowed and destroyed, decimated all regional allies. What has happened to Akali Dal in Punjab? Why Akali Dal severed their ties with BJP? What happened to Shiva Sena in Maharashtra? There are many examples. So, those parties who are under the illusion that BJP will protect them, they are terribly mistaken, and they will also face the same threat in future. Secondly, the BJP-led government at the center is unleashing an attack against the legislative and administrative rights of states. The BJP government, we have seen how they have passed 3 farm laws in parliament. Agriculture is in the state list. Despite that, without any consultation with the state governments, they brought 3 farm bills for the corporatization of Indian agriculture. And those bills were passed in parliament, in Lok Sabha with their brute majority, and in Rajya Sabha, violating all parliamentary procedures and rules. By the abuse of parliament, they bulldozed these 3 farm bills in both houses of parliament. We have seen how agriculture, which is in the state list, is being, the legislative powers of the state is being taken away by the center. We have also seen how the state of Jammu and Kashmir was divided into 3 union territories. That also violating all parliamentary procedures and rules. The state of Indian federalism is reflected in the fact that the number of states have been reduced under BJP government and the number of union territories have increased. So this shows the state of Indian federalism. We have seen how the union government, the central government, is usurping the powers of state in the sphere of education. The new education policy is aimed at centralization of powers. Modi government is talking about one nation, one syllabus, completely undermining the vast diversity and plurality of our society. Education is in the concurrent list. Despite that, they dictate terms, impose a sort of artificial homogeneity in education, in the sphere of education. We have also seen amendments to UAPA and National Investigation Agency Act. Law and order is in the state domain. It's a state's right. Despite that, they have brought amendments which encroach into states' authority. These agencies are being allowed to freely operate in states without the knowledge of state governments. And recently we have seen how the union government has, in blatant violation of federal spirit, set up a cooperative department at the center. Cooperative sector is in the state list, is completely in the state's domain. Even Supreme Court had to intervene and remind that this is a state subject. And the cooperative department is headed by Mr. Amit Shah. The intention is very clear. No need of any explanation or elaboration. Now they are going to target lakhs of crore rupees deposited in cooperative banks. After being written off more than 11.5 lakh crore rupees given as loans to corporates. Recently in Parliament, a reply was given that since Modi government came to power, 11.5 lakh crore worth loans by public sector banks have been written off, and the major beneficiaries are corporate sector. Now the money in cooperative banks are going to be targeted. And we have also seen how the union government has proposed amendments to IAS cadre rules of 1954. According to this amendment, the states will have to forego their right to dissent, consent, or to deny consent for the handover of civil servants for central deputation. Now states enjoy that right to deny consent for the handover of civil servants for central deputation. According to this amendment, state will lose that right. And if there is dispute between center and states, center's decision will prevail. 7 states opposed, but I wonder Andhra was not among that 7 states. Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Kerala, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, and Telangana. 7 states opposed this move by the center, which is blatantly against states' rights. And the third gravest onslaught against states' rights is taking place in the sphere of fiscal rights. In India, historically, devolution of resources from the center to states was taking place through 2 instruments, Planning Commission and Finance Commission. Immediately after Modi government came to power, Planning Commission was dissolved. Then the entire power of devolution of resources was vested with Finance Commission. And the Finance Commission, which has an inherent bias towards union government, is also being now used as a political instrument against states. The Finance Commission's original scope is for devolution of two taxes, revenues from two taxes, income tax and union excise duties. But now the Finance Commission has enlarged its scope to all taxes. From two taxes, income tax and union excise duties, now they have enlarged their scope of devolution of revenue from all taxes. With the passing of GST, Goods and Services Tax, the central government has taken away all rights of state governments for revenue generation. Now the state governments are left with the right to tax only two commodities, petroleum and alcohol. These are the only two commodities left for state governments to impose any tax. State governments have been literally robbed of their right to generate revenue by the union governments. And the state governments have been completely dependent on central government for resources. States' ability to finance expenditure from their own revenue came down drastically. In 1955-56, states financed 69% of their expenditure from their own revenue. In 2019-20, it has come down to just 38%. Now states are able to meet their expenditure from their own revenue only to the extent of 38%. Earlier it was 69%. Who pushed states to this state of affairs? The central government is responsible, especially the Modi government is responsible. I can tell you our experience in Kerala. When the GST was passed in 2017, I think you were in Parliament at that time. Huh? We were together in Parliament. He wasn't?
I was not there.
No, you was not there. Okay. Anyway, when GST was passed, the Modi government offered compensation for the loss of revenue to the states. From 1st July 2022 onwards, that compensation has been stopped. Our state, Kerala, will face a loss of rupees 10,000 crores on this
First quarter.
for the entire financial year. There will be a loss of 10,000 crores in terms of compensation. And further, the union government has reduced revenue deficit grant. Loss for Kerala due to revenue deficit grant is 6,717 crores. Further, the union government and the Finance Commission has changed their norms and criteria for devolution of resources from the center. And on account of that, the loss estimated to Kerala is 12,800 crores. Because earlier, according to 13th Finance Commission's recommendations, Kerala's share in the devolution of central revenue, tax revenue, was 2.5%. Now it has been reduced to 1.925%. And the loss on account of that is 12,800 crores. Remember, loss due to drastic reduction in revenue deficit grant is 6,717. Loss due to GST compensation is 10,000. And loss due to reduction in tax devolution is 12,800 crores. More than that. around 30,000 crores. Around 30,000 crores. When the worst flood of 2018 happened, the loss estimated was the same amount, 30,000 crores. The Modi government is imposing a huge loss on Kerala, similar to the loss happened due to the worst natural calamity. This is not due to natural calamity, this was imposed by Modi government. And special excise duties are not to be shared with the states. 18 lakh crores were mobilized by the central government through additional excise duty and special excise duty on petroleum products. And this is not to be shared with the states. So this is the way, this is a deceptive way the central government is behaving. On the one hand, Modi is talking about cooperative federalism, and on the other hand, Modi government is blatantly betraying state governments. The share of non-divisible taxes in total tax revenue was 9.43% in 2012. In 2020, it has been increased to 15.7%, non-divisible taxes. So under Modi government, the share of non-divisible taxes in the total revenue was 9.43% in 2012.
Okay.
Now, under Modi government, it has been increased, and by 2020, it has increased to 15.47%. So this shows the deceptive way in which Modi government is behaving. Further, the Modi government has significantly reduced corporate taxes. They are generously giving tax concessions to rich and big business. The corporate tax belongs to the divisible tax. Corporate tax revenue is to be shared with the states. And what has happened? The Modi government has reduced corporate tax rate from 30% to 22%. Who will ultimately lose? States will lose. And there are tax concessions. On an average, every year, tax concessions will amount to 5 lakh crore. 5 lakh crore. Again, the states will lose due to these tax concessions. And now, Modi is talking about freebies. And Election Commission is demanding that political parties, when they release their manifesto, they should also mention how they are going to implement schemes, how they will find resources for that. Modi is time and again targeting the freebies. What is this freebies? Subsidies for the poor and welfare schemes for the poor. Now it is being targeted by the Modi government. So these subsidies and welfare schemes for the poor is ridiculed as freebies, and tax concessions to the corporate are described as incentives. So this is the hypocrisy of this government. Centrally sponsored schemes are another weapon against the states' rights. The central government is using centrally sponsored schemes to take away states' rights. There are 131 centrally sponsored schemes. CSS, centrally sponsored schemes. All these schemes are one-size-fits-all schemes. It is prepared by the central government, not taking into consideration the reality of various states. For states like Kerala, most of the centrally sponsored schemes and their norms are impractical to implement. And the state's share in the form of matching grant to these centrally sponsored schemes ranges between 25% to 40%. That means 25 to 40% of these centrally sponsored schemes have to be met by state governments. Why? The question is, why there are centrally sponsored schemes on an item in the state list? Many of these centrally sponsored schemes are on items which are included in the state list. Why there is a CSS on an item in the state list? The second question is, why state share should be spent on an item in the union list? Why states are to be burdened with the responsibility of sharing expenditure on an item in the union list? Comrades, I think I have already taken much time. Let me conclude now. This attack against states' rights is not accidental and it should not be viewed in isolation. As I said at the beginning, this is part of a grand design to redefine India and to transform India into a fascistic Hindu Rashtra based on Manusmriti. These Hindutva forces have always opposed the idea of an inclusive India. They never had a role in the process of this idea of an inclusive India was formed. That process is nothing but our freedom struggle. They were never part of that freedom struggle. So they were always against this idea of inclusive India. They never accepted the diversity. They wanted to transform India into a monolithic Hindu Rashtra. Hence, they were always against federal structure. Their ideologue and their Guruji, Madhav Sadashiv Golwalkar, has clearly stated that he is against federalism. Let me quote Golwalkar. He said, "We have to deeply bury for good all talks of a federal structure of our country's constitution." He wanted to deeply bury for good all talks of a federal structure of our country's constitution. Now, the Modi government has digging the grave of federalism. The Modi government is true to his guru's advice. They wanted to deeply bury federalism. Golwalkar wanted a strong center and weaker states. He said the federal structure would sow the seeds of disintegration of the nation and defeat. That was his approach. The federal structure will sow the seeds of disintegration of the nation and defeat. And he wanted to re-examine and redraft the constitution so as to establish a unitary form of government. So there was no ambiguity. It was very clear. He was completely opposed to the idea of federal structure and he strongly advocated the idea of a unitary state. That is why Modi is saying one country, one uniform, one country, one nation, one uniform, one nation, one market, one tax. Corporates are happy. They also don't want these barriers of state governments. And one nation, one syllabus, one nation, one election, one nation, one language, one nation, one religion. That is the essence of RSS slogan, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan. Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan is being reflected in all the slogans. Now, the slogan is one nation, one election. Soon, one more thing will be added. One nation, one election, one leader. Unitary form of government, presidential form of government. So, they are against states' rights by the very ideology of Hindutva. Hindutva cannot accommodate diversity, and Hindutva cannot tolerate. I mean, when I mention Hindutva, you should read as Manuvadi Hindutva. It's based on Manusmriti. This Manuvadi Hindutva cannot tolerate federal structure. They want to build a monolithic Hindu Rashtra. Only an authoritarian state can transform India into a Hindu Rashtra. An authoritarian police state is required to transform the secular democratic republic into a fascistic Hindu Rashtra. So, we must keep in mind that these attacks are not isolated. This is part of their grand ideological design. So, we have to fight these designs. Is not merely the responsibility of the left. Left has always championed the cause of federalism. But now, it is the responsibility of all democratic and secular forces in our country to defend our constitution and defend the basic structure of our constitution, and federalism is one of the basic structure. Without federalism, India cannot survive as a nation. So this is the most patriotic task of today. The defense of federalism, the defense of secularism, defense of parliamentary form of democracy is the most important and patriotic task today. So, in memory of Comrade Basavapannaya, we have to strengthen our struggle to defend secular, democratic and federal India. With these words, I conclude. Thank you very much.